Ready to get started with your layout and planning for your 32-page picture book, because that is the standard size that is out there today. It's not absolutely necessary to go that route. However, if you are, looking at making a normal picture book, that's pretty much what you're going to want to use as your page count. Now, just because it is a 32-page book does not mean that you have 32 illustrations that you are going to have to deal with. This is important to remember because that is a big number. I mean, really, when you think about it, when you're looking at keeping consistency across your pages, across your colors, across your characters, 32 times is intimidating. But that's okay, because you're not going to have 32 illustrations to work on. As an example, to create your template, what you want to do is you want to find a published children's book that you enjoy and that you like the layout for and that you like the appearance of, to use as a template. Now, I am going to be using, let's see if we can see this, and pardon the fact that your words are backwards on this. I kind of need to be able to see myself to make sure I'm in the frame. Like I said, this video thing's new, so, just read it backwards. You're good. So anyway, I'm going to be using the Salamander Room by Ann Mazer, and it's illustrated by Steve Johnson. I am not sponsoring this book. However, it was one of my boys' favorites when they were growing up. I personally think that it is both beautifully written and beautifully illustrated, and it is a really good template for me to use. I suggest that you go buy your own. So anyway, I have some pages in here that I want to show you. Okay, so this is 32 pages on the inside. However, you're about to see that not all of your 32 pages are going to be filled. This book, the inside cover has no illustration. The first page has no illustration, nor the fact that, it's a well-loved book. Neither do the second and third. The fourth page is also blank, and then we come to our fancy title page. Now, I call it fancy title page because some books have a page here that would just have the title, and that's it. It would be on a blank space. It would just have the title, and you turn the page, get your fancy title page that has pretty lettering, and it has the author and illustrator information, and if it comes from a press, it also has the information about the press. This one also happens to have a small detail illustration, and that will come in when we start talking about how many illustrations you are planning to have. You're going to want to count this, but you're not going to want to count it the same as a full page illustration, because you can either use a detail from another page or a small illustration that you create just for this purpose. Okay, so after that, you have the copyright page. That also does not have an illustration. If you are planning to go through like Amazon and actually print this book, you are going to want a copyright page. The information for that can be found online so that you can set up your own. It really is not that big of a hassle. This is the dedication page, and I highly recommend that you create a dedication page, especially if this is for your family, because they want to see their name on this page, telling them how wonderful they are. This also has a lovely little detail illustration here, and I like that idea, so I incorporate it into my plan, which we'll get to in a minute. I am not going to show you this whole book because it is copywritten, and I hope that they do not mind that I'm showing what I am showing. Your story does not start until this page. So we are already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're on page 8. by the time this story starts. Now, this story is illustrated in a number of different ways throughout the book. This would be an example of a one-page illustration. They also left a blank border to really set that illustration off. You can do that. You don't have to do that. This is your book. So that is an example of a full page or a one-page illustration. If you would like to see an example of a two-page illustration, it is one coherent illustration that stretches across both pages. So while this does count as 2 pages, it really is only one illustration. Another way that can be handled, because they did this one with the borders, and they kind of bled over the border with a detail. You can see it in this type thing too. There's a lot of ways to handle your illustrations. Or you can do full page illustrations and with the illustration going off of the page, which is called bleed. So I know it's a wonderful term, isn't it? But anyway, you know, that gives you some idea of the type of illustrations that you might be dealing with inside your own book. Now, when you get to the end of this book, you are also looking at a smaller detail illustration on this back page, which you can handle differently, followed by a blank page, 2 more blank pages, and a 4th blank page. So really, this 32-page book does not have nearly 32 pages of illustrations. I would like to say that each and every illustration in this book more than makes up for that. But the normal 32-page book does not have 32 pages of illustration. You're also going to have to deal with your cover. You want a nice, pretty cover that attracts the people that you want to read your book. I mean, I know they say never judge a book by its cover, but let's face it, your cover matters. I mean, it's just how it is. On the back, you are going to have a blurb that tells about this book and potentially has other people who have read it and had something to say about it. You can include that there. This is going to be your ISBN if you have it printed, you know, for sale with your barcode and stuff like that. If you are just doing this book for your children, none of this that I just said is absolutely necessary. But however, if you think that you might want to have some printed for the rest of the family, it is nice to know how to go about laying this out. So this is my plan. This is how I'm going to plan out my book. Now, in preparation for that, I took a piece of scrap paper. I have my cover. I have the inside of my cover. And I have all of my pages, 32, which I didn't number. That's okay, because that's 32. This is 31. This is 31. This is 32. And I decided that I'm going to need, I planned out my text and the pages that I will not need illustrations for first. So I may or may not want an illustration on my blurb. I haven't decided yet, so I'm leaving that one blank. I know that both of these interior cover pages are blank. I know that I need my fancy title page, I need my copyright, and I need my dedication. I am including an about the author, because if you're going to put this kind of work into something, it's nice to be able to say a little bit of something about yourself, about what your goals are, about your life. I mean, this is part of your life. This book that you are creating is part of your life. Show off just a little bit. Now, to represent my illustrations, I use smiley faces because why not? So I know I'm going to need a smiley. I know I'm going to need an illustration on the cover. I know I'm going to want a little tiny illustration on the fancy title page and one on the dedication page. Like I said, I have not decided about the back yet. Chances are I don't know, I might decide that at the end, you know, and then use something that I already have to create that illustration. Then I am going to be using 2-page illustration spreads. So it is basically one illustration working together to create 2. That's why they're holding hands. I just use stick figures because it's really, really easy to keep track of what you are wanting to do. And then I know that I know that my story is going to end here, and that right before my author page, I'm going to have this nice little blank page I can put another little detail on. So, but again, that's going to be small. It's not going to be as much work or as much effort as creating any of the other pages on the interior. This means that I have 26 total 2-page illustrations that I'm going to be working on, if you count them out, which basically means I have 13 illustrations to plan, not 26. I have 13. They're going to be double page. It's all one picture. It's just going to be on 2 pieces of paper in order to meet that area. Then I have 1 page of cover art, and I have 3 small detail illustrations to work on. So altogether, I really only have 15. We'll count the 3 as 1. I have 15 pages of illustrations that I need to have work together. So that's my count, which is really nice. I mean, 13's a heck of a lot less intimidating than 32.